I've been working on a translation of the Bhagavad Gita. It's almost finished now. What I thought I would do today is go over some translations of a single verse of the Gita, how different translators have translated this one important verse from the Bhagavad Gita, and get into some of the issues around translating the Gita, why one translation might be better than another translation, and just get into some of the issues around translating. So let's just go over the verse. It's chapter 18. So there's 18 chapters in the Bhagavad Gita. This is 18, verse 66. It's a famous verse that basically says, I'm going to read the Sanskrit actually, because if I translate it, then that's what we're trying to do here, is we're trying to translate this verse. Okay, so I'll read the Sanskrit. I'm actually going to chant it. Sarva-dharmān parityajya ekaṁ śharaṇaṁ vraja ahaṁ tvām sarva-pāpebhyo mokṣhayiṣhyāmi ma śhuchaḥ. All right, so the translation that I have, and this is similar to the Winthrop. Actually, I think it's pretty much the same as Winthrop Sargent, and I think he has one of the better translations, maybe one of the best. And the translation is, abandoning all duties, sarva-dharmān parityajya, take refuge in me alone, ekaṁ śharaṇaṁ vraja, I shall liberate you, ahaṁ tvām mokṣhayiṣhyāmi, from all evils, sarva-pāpebhyaḥ, do not grieve, ma śhuchaḥ. It's a very straightforward translation. It's very faithful, I believe, to the meaning, to the text and the context of this. So I think this is one of the better translations. Here's another translation. So that translation, which we'll call the Winthrop Sargent translation. By the way, we're going to look at about 12 different translations here, rather quickly, hopefully. Abandoning all duties, sarva-dharmān parityajya. Dharma, that's one of the key words. What does dharma mean, right? So duties is one way. Duty is one way to translate dharma. We're going to see different ways of translating it, but duty is a good one, right? Because throughout the Gita, Krishna has been talking about duty, right? And he's telling Arjuna that your duty as a warrior, your duty as a kshatriya, being a member of this caste called the kshatriyas, is to fight. You have to fight. You are obligated to fight. That's your duty. That's your calling in life, is to fight, to be a warrior, and to fight for the cause of justice. Dharma also has a connotation of law, has a connotation of obligation, has a connotation of moral order, it has the connotation of, some people say, religion, has the connotation of righteousness. Dharma can be translated many different ways. So obviously Krishna wouldn't say abandoning all law, he wouldn't say abandoning all righteousness, he wouldn't say abandoning, duty is a good one. Let's see what some other people say here. So this is from the website bhagavadgita.io. Abandon all duties and take refuge in me alone. It's very similar, basically the same translation so far. I will liberate you from all sins. So the translation I read translates papa, the word papa, as evils as opposed to sins. But this bhagavadgita.io translates this as sins. Do not grieve. And that's common to translate that word papa as sins. Now the problem with that is the word sin does have kind of a biblical connotation. So if you want to get away from that, you might use the word evil, right? But what was the actual intention of the word is the question, right? What does papa really mean? And papa is found throughout the Gita. Right? This isn't the first time you find the word papa. It's all throughout the Gita you find this word. And it's a question of how you're going to translate this word. Do not grieve is a good translation of ma śhuchaḥ. And this is another word that is throughout the Gita, from the very beginning of the Gita, where Arjuna is grieving, right? He's in a state of grief. And Krishna tells him from the beginning, this is not worthy of you to grieve like this. So I think grief is do not grieve is a good translation of that. Shivananda says, abandoning all duties, the same, take refuge in me alone. The same, I will liberate you, or I will liberate thee. So he uses these and thous, which is kind of biblical too, and it's kind of King James. Is it really necessary? It adds a certain weight and certain sacredness to the text, certain weightiness to the text. Is it necessary? Probably not, but it does. It may make one reader, maybe some readers, take the text more seriously if they see a thee and a thou, right? Grieve not. So it's very similar. His translation is very, very similar. But he translates papa as sins as well. Srila Prabhupada, which if you look online, a lot of people, because he probably has the Gita that is the most out there, most read Gita, the most copies of the Gita this is the Hare Krishna version, right? So there's many copies of this available. There's many people that quote from this. So he says, abandon all varieties of religion. So that's his translation of dharma, is abandon all varieties of religion, is how he translates dharma, and just surrender unto me. So that's an added word there. Does not say just. The other translations were take refuge, which maybe is more of the meaning of śharaṇaṁ, right? Maybe he added the just there because of the word ekam, but alone is generally how that's translated. So he adds the just surrender unto me. So instead of alone, he says just. So that's okay. That's alone might be better because eka is one. So alone is maybe a better translation. I shall deliver you. Deliver, again, is more of a biblical term, deliverance, right? I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. It does not say sinful reaction, right? It says papa is either sins or evils, or does not say, I don't know where he gets the sinful reaction here. Do not fear also does not say do not fear. It says do not grieve. So this translation is quite a bit different. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's not as close to the it's faithful. It's the fidelity to the original. The concept of religion. Concept of religion wasn't even a concept at that time, right? Religion is a more recent term that has been used. So do they have the understanding of dharma as religion? Possibly, but so when he says abandon all varieties of religion here, it's a little bit, he's adding some things. Let's put it that way. He's adding some ideas. Even the word varieties, he could say abandon all religion and just surrender unto me. But that wouldn't make sense. So I understand why he would put varieties of religion. Anyway, we'll go on. Okay, so that was the Srila Prabhupada translation. Sarvapali Radhakrishnan, he was one of the great scholars of Hinduism. Abandoning all duties, come to me alone for shelter. Okay, again, it's similar. It's very close to what we... Be not grieved, for I shall release thee from all evils. Again, he has the thee, right? Adds a little weight, the biblical King Jamesian-ness of it. I shall release you from all evils. So he translates papa as evils, not as sins. Very close to the original that I read, the Winthrop Sargent. All right. Jayanandayal Goyantka, the Gita Press version. I got this little one recently. Resigning all your duties to me, the all-powerful and all-supporting Lord. So that's an addition. That's not in the text, right? The all-powerful and all-supporting Lord. That he just added that. Resigning all your duties to me, take refuge in me alone. That's the same. I shall absolve you of all sins. Worry not. So he doesn't say grieve not. He says worry not. I think grief is a stronger word. It's closer. It seems to be closer to the original meaning. Worry is not as deep a word. I shall absolve you of all sins. It sounds kind of Catholic, right? The absolution, absolving someone of sins. Is that what Krishna is really getting at? It's a question, right? We could ask that question. What is Krishna really saying here? But let's go on. Winthrop Sargent, we already did his. Abandoning all duties, take refuge in me alone. I shall liberate you from all evils, do not grieve. Sir Edwin Arnold, he had one of the first English translations. And this is kind of funny. It's very poetic. Here's his translation. It's kind of like a long poem. And let go those rights and writ duties. Fly to me alone. Make me thy single refuge. I will free thy soul from all its sins. Be of good cheer. Clearly does not say be of good cheer. That's definitely a reference to the Gospels, Jesus in the Gospels, right? It actually says, it expresses it negatively. Do not grieve, right? Mas śhuchaḥ is not be of good cheer. It's not a positive prescription. It's a negative one. Do not grieve. It doesn't say be of good cheer. And there's a lot of exclamation points here that he has. I'm gonna include all these in the description so you can look at these. Jnaneshwari, this is like a 13th century translation. I believe it was in Marathi, and this is the English translation of that. Relinquish all, and then in quotation, and in parentheses, so-called duties, and unto me alone as shelter betake thyself. I shall release thee from all sins whatsoever. Duties and sins are both in quotations here. So whether it's sins or whether it's evils could be important, maybe not. It's very close to the original one that I read, right? Shlokam.org, I took this one just today on from this website. Abandoning all dharmas of the body, mind, and intellect. They don't even translate dharma, right? They just keep it as it is. But then they say in parentheses, of the body, mind, and intellect. Take refuge in me alone. I will liberate you. I will liberate thee from all sins. Grieve not. All right. It has the thee and it has the sins. Biblical, once again. But it doesn't translate dharma. It doesn't say duties. SupremeKnowledge.org. Relinquishing all my religious practices in me, you go in the refuge of only that one unique, that is complete God. I will release you from all the sins. You do not grieve. Lots of issues with this translation. Dharma as religious practices. I'm not sure about that, right? Who am I to say, though? But again, the concept of religion was not even around at that time. That doesn't mean that you can't use it. You can't translate dharma as religion. It can be translated that way, but this adds a few things, as explanation. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But it's not completely true to the original, is what I'm getting at. And I'm really more concerned myself with being faithful to the original. Here's the last one that I have. Jeffrey Armstrong. This is a recent translation. He definitely adds some color and some things to each verse. Generally adds some things that are not actually in the Sanskrit. And he tries not to translate certain words like dharma. So he says, just abandon all lesser dharmas and dedicate yourself entirely to me. Take refuge in me and I will protect you from all negative reactions. That's actually the same as Srila Prabhupada. And that's not papa as negative reactions. It's not a bad translation, you could say, because what is sin or evil except negative reactions? What did Prabhupada say? Prabhupada said, and Jeffrey Armstrong, as I understand it, is also coming out of that tradition, the same tradition. Prabhupada said sinful reaction, and Jeffrey Armstrong changes it to negative reaction. So he because he's trying to get rid of all the biblical verbiage. So he also doesn't translate dharma. Abandon all lesser dharmas and dedicate yourself entirely to me. Take refuge in me, and I will protect you from all negative reactions. Do not be afraid, for I will... So he also says, do not be afraid, ma śhuchaḥ, which is interesting because he seems to know his Sanskrit. So maybe there is a sense in which ma śhuchaḥ means do not be afraid, because that's what Prabhupada said as well, do not fear. Whereas most people translate it as do not grieve. For I will free you from all forms of bondage. I will free you from all forms of bondage. Sarva-pāpebhyo. So he's adding a few things there. I will protect you from all negative reactions. I will free you from all forms of bondage. So he seems to be translating papa in two different ways, negative reactions and all forms of bondage. Sarva-pāpebhyo. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Fear not, right? You find that a lot in the Bible. Is it a good translation, though, of ma śhuchaḥ? Let's think about that. Let me just look up the beginning. This video might shut off in a moment because I only have so much battery. But at the beginning, chapter 2, do not be a coward. Let's see. Shoka, sorrow, grief. It seems to be the meaning of that word. Ma śhuchaḥ seems to be do not grieve, do not sorrow, do not fear. When all is said and done, these are all okay, I do think that the Winthrop Sargent is probably the closest, but I can also understand why you wouldn't translate dharma at all. So Winthrop Sargent, again, is abandoning all duties, take refuge in me alone, I shall liberate you from all evils, do not grieve. someone reading that would probably ask, well, what does that mean exactly, right? So that's where you might want to have a translation that maybe tries to explain what that is, right? Abandoning all duties, take refuge in me alone. That's problematic too, to say, what duties are we talking about? Is he telling him not to fight now? Is he telling him not to fight in this battle? What is he saying, right? He doesn't seem to be saying that, right? From the context, he's not saying that. But the overall point of this verse, this is a climactic verse, right? This is like the very end of the Gita. Krishna seems to be saying to Arjuna, look, just come to me, right? Just make me everything, and all will be well. Right? That seems to be the import of it. Just take refuge in the Supreme, and that will liberate you. I will liberate you, right, from all your troubles. You don't need to grieve. You don't need to feel. Jeffrey Armstrong's translation of negative reactions might be good too. Because I will keep you safe from all negativity if you just keep your mind always on me, right? All these translations, they're all pretty good. I think that it's just different flavors in many ways. It's going to appeal to different people. That's why there's so many translations, maybe, because different translations will appeal to different people. The translation I'm doing is more of a it's very close to the Winthrop Sargent translation, and it's pretty straightforward. It's basically word for word, trying to translate word for word the meaning. And if you don't like the English translation, you have the Sanskrit right next to it. So you can just go with the Sanskrit. And I would like to, I'm doing the translation that I would like to see of the Gita. This is what I would like to read is close to what the original meaning of it was, the original intention, and not someone's interpretation, right? Someone's, what is, you could say, the consensus on what this means. And I think Winthrop Sargent's translation is probably closer in that regard because he was took a more scholarly approach and less sectarian, dogmatic approach. Other translations are coming out of a certain lineage and different tradition, a certain tradition. That doesn't mean they're wrong, and then maybe only one. Maybe the Hare Krishna version is the correct one for all I know. I do think that Prabhupada's probably was the most of all these. Probably was the most problematic of translation of all these. Translating dharma as varieties of religion, and sinful reaction as papa as sinful reaction, and then ma śhuchaḥ as do not fear. All of those are problematic. But anyway, I'll leave it at that, and I would love to hear your thoughts. Anyone out there who's a Gita scholar or a Gita aficionado or not just a dilettante like me wants to weigh in on this. I'd love to hear it. And this is not an easy task to be a translator. There's a lot of choices you have to make as a translator that most people don't even realize. That they just read the translation. They don't realize the the thought that went into translating the text one way versus another way. I'd have to do a whole talk on just that. Maybe I will at some point, but thanks for listening, and I'll keep this coming. Would love to hear if you want to hear more, what you want to hear about the Gita, anything you want to learn. Please let me know. All right, thanks. Hari Om Tat Sat.